Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step. I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets. Cause we know who we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here and stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future, but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. Tell 'em I can't take no loss. My team hold no L's, no. Aiming for the top, can't make it by myself.
What's up, kids? Yeah. Messing with the mic. I'm just, my thoughts are consumed right now. The countdown to the crash out, it is delayed. It's not gone. The crash out's coming. It's just going to be delayed. Not just for 1 week, because we're 3-2 now. The Bears are 3-2. Not just for 1 week, but 2 weeks, because I won't start crashing out until we go below 500. Thank you, Jaden Daniels. Thank you, Jaden Daniels, for that late fumble. Thank you, bud. Yeah, this is a Bears jersey, by the way. I know some of you might be out there like, I don't know who number 1 on the Bears is. Well, here's the deal. I don't buy Bears current player jerseys anymore. I have a long history of sinking our franchise with my jersey purchases. Starting with Rashaan Salam, Heisman Trophy winner, broke his leg in preseason or like first game. I bought his jersey before that. Cade McNown, one of the most famous first-round quarterback busts. Oh, I went out and bought a Cade McNown jersey. Curtis Enis, A-Train Anthony Thomas. The list goes on and on of jerseys I bought that sunk the player. So I don't do it anymore. This jersey is a Justin Fields jersey. It took a long time for me to say, I'm not a part of the team's success. My superstitions are ill-founded. And I went out and I got myself a Justin Fields. Lo and behold, I do control the team's fate with my jersey purchases or lack thereof. This is Scotty's quarterback now. Have fun with that. But this is a Bears jersey. I am very happy. Oh, and thank you, Josh Allen, for throwing a pick. Yeah, Scotty. Oh, wait, you're not up there, but oh yeah. I want to bring Scotty in. We're going to get Scotty back in. Any technical difficulties be damned. But thank you, Josh Allen. My buddy Casey and Jenna, great friends of mine, both in my wedding. They watched the show. I played Casey in fantasy football last night, and Josh Allen, his quarterback for his fantasy team, threw a pick on the last play, gave me the half-a-point win. Love that action. We'll get Scotty in here to talk about Justin Fields when we get a chance. What? Oh, no, but I wanted to put your mug on there. All right, well, we're moving on. We're moving on. So, countdown to crash out has been delayed. It's been delayed. That's all. Just delayed. I'm going to find something to do with this mic in a second. So, the peace, right? The peace in the Middle East. It has come. We're not going to do a whole bunch of things on that, really. I really want to see this play out. I want to see a lot of elements of this play out before we start to really dig in. But they are at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. They are at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt for a peace summit with a bunch of leaders to hammer out the details of the ceasefire, the peace agreement between Israel and Gaza. They're going to hammer out details. And Trump was hobnobbing and rubbing elbows with the most influential people in the Middle East. And he was so happy to be doing so. There was one funny moment I wanted to start with. There was one funny moment. could be funny. It's funny to me. I don't know some people might not find it quite as funny as the story unfolds a little bit. But there was one guy there, Prabowo Subianto. He is the Indonesian president. Prabowo Subianto. He's the Indonesian president. And he just was all fired up about getting a chance to talk to Don. See, they had some stuff to talk about. Don opened a golf club in Indonesia in March, right? A Trump golf club. And he's got a report. There are, if you go to one of the Trump websites, you'll see coming soon is a resort in Bali and some property he's buying. In Indonesia, they've got business dealings. He's buying property. There's something coming soon, right? A resort coming soon, along with the golf course that was opened in March. And this guy Prabowo, I'm telling you, he's the worst kind of friend He's the one that's going to blow up your spot. He's the one that just can't chill. And he goes and he grabs Trump near a hot mic, and he's just got to talk to Trump. He's got to talk to Trump. Now, I had to raise the levels, then raise the levels again. The ambient noise might be a little prevalent here, and I'll tell you what they said after you see it. So this is how this played out, right? Prabowo could not chill out. He had to get him right there next to that hot mic.
Is there a region not safe, secure? Can I meet Eric? Yeah, I'll have Eric. Yeah. Such a good boy. I'll have Eric. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah. That's what I told Harry also. I told Harry also. Yeah, we'll look for better place. Yeah, all of them. Okay.
Okay, the rest is a little intelligible. Okay, so apparently Prabowo wanted to talk to Trump about one of the spots that they picked for this resort, right? And Prabowo says, hey, Don, I got to talk to you. Come here. The region that you picked, it's not safe, security-wise. And he said, can I meet Eric? Don said, I'll have Eric call. Should I do that? He's such a good boy. I'll have Eric call. Then Prabowo said, we'll look for a better place. And Trump said, I'll have Eric call you. And then Prabowo says, Eric or Don Jr.? And then Don said, dude, chill out. I just told you I'll have Eric call you 3 times. You're blowing up my spot. I'm violating the emoluments clause by talking to you about this right now. You got to chill, bro. That's what I'm guessing he said to him. The last part was unintelligible, so that's what I'm going to guess he said to him. Like, this dude couldn't let it go. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on. He's like that friend where you plan to go to this party you're not supposed to go to, right? And you say, okay, come over to my house and we'll go to this party together. I'm going to lie to my mom, right? And you go and you lie to your mom and you say, Mom, we're going to go to Timmy's house to study and watch some movies. And then Timmy comes over to pick you up and you guys are going to go to the party, really. And you say, okay, Mom, I'll see you later. We're going to Timmy's house. And then Timmy says, bro, I thought we were going to Richie's house for the party. Dude, shut up. Dude, chill. Chill. Shh, bro, chill. We all had that friend. Just a little slow on the uptake. That's Prabowo. He told him 3 times, I'll have Eric call you, and tried to end it. And this dude's like, Eric or Don? Like, bro, chill. Chill. So, obviously, there's a bit of a conflict there. There's an emoluments clause violation in the making there. He was accused of it in his first term. Nothing really came from it. He's been accused of it in this term. Nothing really is coming from it yet, but that's on a grand stage. I just thought that was really funny. Really funny that this dude Prabowo could not chill out. Had to go get Don's ear right there next to the mic and just couldn't let it go. Just could not let it go. Eric or Don? He just told you. He just told you. Now, Don was rubbing elbows with other people at this summit. He was rubbing elbows with all the best people. And he was in Egypt. He was in Egypt. And he was sitting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Now, el-Sisi overthrew Egypt's democratically elected government in a coup, in a military coup in 2013. That's who this guy is. And Don is all about it. He loves this guy. Don's all about it. You want to hear how all about it Don is? Yes, I've got to play Don. I know how many of you feel about it. We got to hear from this dude. You have to hear what he's saying. It's important. And not enough people are highlighting just who he is enamored with. And the type of government that he is just seeking to emulate every chance he gets. Let's hear from him.
We're in a country where a friend of mine is a very powerful leader. And my friend is right here, the president, also the general.
He forgot his name, by the way.
Sometimes I call him, usually I call him the general because he's both, and he's good at both. And they've done a fantastic job. And they have very little crime, because they don't play games, that's why. They don't play games. like we do in the United States with governors that have no idea what they're doing. But they don't have crime. I ask about crime, and they almost don't even know what I'm talking about. So it's a great tribute to this man. He's done a fantastic job in bringing this country together.
All right, one. The way he gushes about this guy being the president and the general, I mean, to talk about the parallels are obvious is a bit of an understatement. Yeah, I'm telling you, and I know he forgot his name. You know how I know he forgot his name? Because if he had remembered his name was El Sisi, he would have been like, El Sisi, great general, great man, very bigly. He would have, because it's a fun name to say. So he would have said it all fun and Don-like. I know he would have. He forgot the dude's name. No doubt. He continues.
And I think you'll see some tremendous progress, both in the Middle East. This country is doing very well. It has good leadership. It's about leadership. And it's really nice when you say, how is your crime situation? And they don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean crime? We don't have crime. Because if he has crime, he puts it out very quickly. Some people think that's not nice,
bigly.
but I think it's great. Because people don't want to be mugged and smashed, and they don't want to be stupid people. They have a place that is doing very well. We're very proud of him, because we knew each other from the beginning.
People don't want to be mugged and smashed and stupid people. The hell are you talking about, Don? Very quickly, very bigly, they take care of crime. Oh, he continues. His best buddy, Erdogan, was there. Oh, they're best friends. You already know about how big of friends he is with Erdogan and some of these other dictators. Talk great about Erdogan. He said he talks bigly about all these guys. He said, I don't know what it is. It's like the tough people. I like the tough people better than I like the soft, easy ones. I don't know what the hell that is. That's a personality problem, I suspect. You know, it's funny is lately Don's been kind of telling the truth about himself. It's a little weird, and I'm kind of here for it. Just a couple days ago when he was on Air Force One, he said, yesterday on Air Force One, he goes, I'm probably not going to heaven. Hate to say it. Probably going somewhere else. Probably not heaven. What the fuck? What the? All right, Don, we are starting to see eye to eye. I mean, I'm not bigly into the religion myself, but if I were, I would have a very distinct opinion that you're not going to heaven. Apparently you feel the same way. Apparently you feel the same way. They all have so much money. There's more money and power sitting behind us. I love that they're behind us. They've never been sitting behind anybody before. What? I would, if Don was a smarter man, I'd give that statement a larger philosophical implication. Like, hey, they're militarily aligned, and as global powers, we are supporting each other. No, I think he meant actually sitting behind me. I think he meant no powerful people like this has ever actually physically sat behind me before. You know what he doesn't talk about when he's talking in front of the global community, in front of these leaders? He never talks about the real America. He talks about there's money and there's power behind me. He doesn't talk about America representing freedom, justice. He doesn't talk about peace on a global scale. He doesn't talk about peace and cooperation in front of these powerful Middle Eastern leaders. He talks about money and power. I'm going to describe to you what he's emulating in a second.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because democracy doesn't defend itself.
Okay, Tom, or Don. Who's Tom? Okay, Don. Let's talk about Egypt for just a second, since you want to sit here and tout them as bigly, strongly, quickly. You want to gush as you describe their president general and how they have no crime. No crime. Well, you'd be shocked to find out that Don is lying about that. Egypt most certainly has crime. I will start by being fair. They do have an exceptionally low intentional homicide rate. Now, we're going to get into why you can't really trust the numbers that they give you. But global law agencies who police these things have said, yes, actually, Egypt does have a low homicide rate because, one, they have very little access to guns, believe it or not. They have very little access to guns. And two, they are so heavily policed. They are so heavily policed. And it's not just a regular police. Like, you see how Trump is trying to slowly integrate, like, Metro police with the federal agencies that are in Washington now? They're trying to merge. You see them. We saw the videos of Metro police holding hands with and locking arms with ATF, DEA, ICE, CPB as they skip along the streets of Washington merrily in cohesion. That's not a Don special. That's not a Don Deluxe. He's, of course, once again mimicking the policies of authoritarian governments. That is what Egypt does, but officially. There is no real police. It is a military police. The military are the police. And they treat their job as you would expect them to, as military, not as law enforcement trying to foster a relationship with the community that they protect and serve. That is not how it works in Egypt. They are a military policing force. Know this. Know this. Now, the Ministry of the Interior, they oversee, they run the Central Security Forces, which is their police, their military police. Okay? Our U.S. State Department is responsible for a lot of the numbers and figures and facts that I'm about to bring you. Our U.S. State Department from this year and last year. This is not some left-wing rag, that is, partisanly reporting on a Trump-allied country unfavorably. We're talking about our U.S. State Department's numbers, figures, facts that they have collected. Torture, arbitrary arrest, arbitrary detention, enforced disappearances, harsh prison conditions. Their prison population rate is 113 per 100,000. That in and of itself is not an extraordinary number, but what is extraordinary is that a third of all of their prisoners at any one given time are there indefinitely without charges. And routinely, they will rearrest prisoners in prison, currently in prison, give them a new case number so their interim detention goes on for even longer. Oh, we might actually have to do something with this case at some point. Then they rearrest them and it begins all over again. New court case, new case number, and it begins all over again. Okay? Obviously, overcrowding is a problem. Keep in mind, when you want to look at why they say crime is down or why they say crime isn't a problem, among other false reasons, Egypt is one of the few countries that excels in executions. Year in and year out, they lead the world in executions, and many of those executions are women. Women who they themselves have been sexually abused or raped, but then have been found by their courts to be in violation, to be guilty of seducing or presenting themselves in a seductive manner. In some way or another, they are responsible for their own assault, and the penalty for that is death in that country. Trump thinks this guy's bigly, strongly, quickly. Loves this guy. Loves this guy. Human trafficking, smuggling. Our State Department has them in a tier 2. Tier 2 in smuggling and human trafficking, which means they try sometimes, but they fall far short of the minimum standards to get out of tier 2 for that particular offense. And they have large criminal organizations that focus on smuggling people, drugs, antiquities, money laundering, very prevalent. Those people, however, have the influence to not be prosecuted. They just pay off. It's no big deal. They've got the influence. So, their criminal markets are prevalent. Don says no crime, bigly, strongly. They don't even. Don says when you say crime to El Sisi, he says, "What's that? Huh? Crime? Never heard of it. Never heard of it." If you take just, and I'm not going to do all day on this. I'm not going to spend all day on this. They do mass arrests. That's one of their tactics. We don't need evidence. We don't need to prove culpability or any type of extension of the crime. They just arrest everybody. Anybody who's even looking at them funny near a crime, they arrest everybody. And then what do they do after they arrest large groups of people? They try them all together, single appearances in a court. A court, by the way, judges, by the way, are all appointed by the president, El-Sisi. And they are all scared for their lives should they fall out of lockstep with him. They do what he says when he says it. They prosecute and find guilty who they are told to. They find innocent who they are told to. So these groups of mass arrestees they see a judge together. In these large groups, the judge is like, "You're all guilty." Boom. Sometimes he's like, "You're all guilty. You're all executed." Boom. Sometimes. No, you're saying, well, what about due process? Not only are they not given any type of due process, they are denied access to lawyers more than not. Way more. Like 9 out of 10 type more than not. 9 out of 10 people who see a judge in Egypt are denied access to lawyers. Not can't get it or can't afford it. Denied. Denied access. Okay? The government has mass surveillance on everything. Social media, mosques, especially any non-government organizations. You can be arrested for spreading false information. You need a permit to get 10 or more people in one place at one time. You need a permit. 10 people. 10 people. And our State Department's findings say that beatings, in terms of the torture, now this is just to get confessions. Just to get confessions, they routinely beat people, electric shock torture, stress positions, and sexual assault to get confessions. When you say stress positions, Brett, what are you talking about? I think many of you know what I'm talking about. But when I think of stress positions, I immediately think of Uday Hussein, who used to run Iraq's national soccer team. And when they would lose or perform badly, he would hang them from the ceiling by their feet and hands and like in contorted positions for days. That type of stress position. That type of stress position. So, the courts themselves are kangaroo courts. And by the way, civilians are tried in military court in Egypt, which is obviously a big no-no here. It's supposed to be. No transparency. No transparency. The government, they release the annual crime reports, okay? But they're not even public, and they're never on time. Unlike the FBI and the DOJ do crime reports every year, they don't really do that. They don't really do that. And the Egyptian Ministry of Interior submissions is the one who controls it. That's the president. So the numbers that come out, you can't really trust. You have to go by international organizations for the numbers because you can't just go to Egypt for their numbers. There is no independent auditing, no oversight in any of the numbers. Crimes are vastly underreported, even by the victims. Nobody wants to get the military police involved in their life. So much crime happens in Egypt and nobody says nothing about nothing to nobody because nobody wants the police sniffing around. Everybody could end up hanging by their toes from a ceiling. So they don't report the crime. And over-reported is political dissidents, any type of fear-mongering, reporting the truth. Journalists are one of their favorite targets. Journalism in that country is basically extinct, and all of it is to minimize backlash on their dear president, El-Sisi. So, what does it look like? Oh, yes, sir.
Speaking of all this, and just for an example,
it's Scotty, everyone.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Are you okay? Stop breaking things, Brett.
Brett breaks things. Go, Scotty. I'm sorry, bud.
Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, he said regarding the military police occupation of Memphis, it may never end.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he said we have just begun. We do know that this is going to last for months. In fact, I will tell you, it will last forever.
Great. It will last forever. Does that sound like something I'm describing? Just described in this story? Military in lockstep with local law enforcement where they're not discernible? So what does it look like? Thank you, Scotty. What does it look like when our president gushes over the civilian policing policy and philosophy of an Egypt? It looks like them telling you the National Guard's staying in Memphis forever. Or I'm taking troops from Texas, I'm putting them in Chicago, and if Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker don't get in line, I'll arrest them. That's what it looks like. What else does it look like? Well, I told you journalists were their favorite target in Egypt. They basically don't exist. It's like a long, slow, drawn-out way to commit suicide if you want becoming a journalist in Egypt. It's just long, drawn-out suicide. Basically. What does that look like? If that philosophy were to take hold here, what does it look like? Well, I'm going to get to what it looks like. It looks like the Department of War's press policy.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
So, what does it look like when we start to adopt, civilian policy, the civilian policy of Egypt? Like, domestic policy, law enforcement policy. When we start to look like Egypt, what does that look like? It's funny because when Trump really first started to attack the press in earnest, when he really, really went hard, it was when he started at first controlling where certain press outlets were sitting in the White House briefing room, right? First he started moving, sympathetic, like-minded press outlets up and others back. And then he started adding new spots for like right-wing podcasters at the White House briefing room. It was weird. But then he out and out barred the AP and the Wall Street Journal from White House briefings because they refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And at the time, a few people, you hear it every now and then, this is the deal. It has all fallen apart right here, right now. The attack on free press and free speech has begun for real. And people were excited about it. They were upset about it. They were scared about it. But it also got kind of the alien treatment where we're like, okay, there it is. Next. Right? The alien briefings, the pilots coming out saying, yeah, I saw UFOs. I know we have bodies. I know we have crash remnants. And the whole world is just like, and? It's kind of how the AP and the Journal being barred from press briefings went. We're all like, that is horrible. And? Like, we just kept on moving. We just keep on chugging along, hoping that this will stop someday, just all of a sudden, just magically stop. But it won't stop, especially when he's out here telling you how awesome Egypt is at preventing crime and policing their country and stopping journalists and the press from reporting to the rest of the world and their people just how bad it really is. Well, we reported on the DOW's new policy, right? The one that says reporters cannot obtain or solicit any information the Department of War does not explicitly authorize. Any media representative who does not sign by 5 p.m. Tuesday, that's today, has 24 hours to turn in their media credentials and clear out of the Pentagon facilities. Well, guess what? That's just what a bunch of outlets are choosing to do. I talk about the fight. Here it is. I'm going to point out the fight a few times in today's show. A few times. Here's one of the fights. Here's the front lines. Here it is. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the AP, CNN, the Atlantic, the Wall Street Journal, NPR, Reuters, The Guardian, Task and Purpose, Breaking Defense, all not signing it. They're all not signing it. You know who else isn't signing it? Newsmax isn't signing it. Newsmax is not signing it. I mean, this overwhelmed me. I didn't think the pushback on this would be so unified and loud and definitive. This isn't mealy-mouthed. This isn't wishy-washy. This is a strong opposition to the attack on our First Amendment, period. In no uncertain terms, and the ones who are pushing back are very clear. And they are loud, and they are saying things. I'm going to tell you what they're saying. Matt Murray, the Washington Post executive editor, said the policy runs counter to the Constitution's guarantee of freedom of press. The proposed restrictions undercut First Amendment protections by placing unnecessary constraints on gathering and publishing information. We will continue to vigorously and fairly report on the policies and positions of the Pentagon and officials across the government. Matt Murray's out here telling you, not only can you shove this policy where the sun don't shine, we're going to continue to do the things that you're trying to curtail. The whole point of the policy, we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to do our job. We're going to continue to report on the Pentagon and the military. We're going to continue to report the truth. And you can shove that policy. You can shove it. New York Times, Washington Bureau Chief Richard Stevenson said, the policy constrains how journalists can report on the U.S. military, which is funded by nearly $1 trillion in taxpayer dollars annually. Great point. Great point. As Pete Hegseth tries to restrict access and truth concerning something that's ours. We pay for it. Not you, Pete. Not Trump. Not Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell, who I'm absolutely tired of hearing from, but we will hear from him more. That dude is a real bootlicker. Right in, like they got the right guy. And we'll hear from the old Pentagon spokesperson, who no longer wanted that job because he's not a Sean Parnell. We'll hear from him. So a whole bunch of people. You know who else? Jeffrey Goldberg. Does that sound familiar? Jeffrey Goldberg? He's the one at The Atlantic who was added to the Signal group chat by Hegseth on all that classified information about the Iran bombing. That was him. He said the constraints on journalists violate their First Amendment rights. As a result, the magazine staffers won't sign. Now, remember, they have already, at the Department of War, gone to war, with the press. This has already started. Before this policy, they already rarely conducted briefings. They kicked out all of the mainstream media's from their news desks. All of the big outlets had their own desks at the Pentagon, kicked them all out and replaced them with like Newsmax, Breitbart, OAN, Huffington Post, and restricted the movement of all press in the Pentagon. Just places they can't go anymore. Just restricted access to most of it. What does spokesperson Sean Parnell have to say about this? He said media outlets have decided to move the goalpost. That's not the right application of that colloquialism, Sean. You got it. But I digress. He says the media outlets have decided to move the goalpost. The policy doesn't require reporters to agree, Parnell said, but just acknowledge that they understand the policy. And he criticized reporters for speaking out against it. Surprise, surprise. He's out here criticizing the reporters. Go figure. What did the old Pentagon spokesperson have to say? His name's John Ulyoit. Some of you might remember him. Although he's critical of this policy, he did sign off on the memo implementing Hegseth's decision to kick all of those established news outlets out of the Pentagon, out of their desks. He was on board for that, but this is too much. These guys. He said Hegseth should drop the Soviet-style restrictions, reopen the briefing room, and follow the lead of President Trump and every other cabinet member by engaging regularly, confidently, and conversationally with reporters of all stripes. There it is. Even, a Trump guy, is out here saying a little bit too much. Even a guy who was okay with, ending the special treatment, you could say it was called, for these large news outlets, but really what it was the result of a good relationship between the American press and the Pentagon. He's okay with ending that, but this is too much. You know who did sign it? An organization that is making its play for the state-run media. The one that will be fringier than all the rest. The one that will go that extra step. Where Newsmax falls short here, OAN, One American News, they will pick up the slack. They will go there. They will do that. They signed it. After thorough review of the revised press policy by our attorney, OAN staff has signed the document. And they went on to say, bleep you, Newsmax, we'll be the last ones left standing. Newsmax said, what did Newsmax say? They said, Newsmax has no plans to sign the letter. We are working in conjunction with other media outlets to resolve the situation. Washington Times, no, our reporters won't be signing. Washington Examiner, this outlet does not sign agreements with people we cover in many other areas, and we do not plan to make the exception in this case. Now, there's an organization, okay, the Pentagon Press Association. This organization represents more than 100 journalists from trade publications, newspapers, wire services, TV broadcasts, all of them. They represent 100 plus journalists from all of these different outlets. They went and got lawyers. And they're consulting with their lawyers over this policy, not just whether to sign it or not, but whether they should do something about it. They said Monday that the policy gags Pentagon employees and threatens retaliation against reporters who seek out information that has not been pre-approved for release. It said neither the White House, State Department, nor other agencies require reporters to sign such policies to gain access to their buildings. You're right. Now, we heard from Mr. Sean Parnell. We often do when Pete Hegseth goes, runs, and hides and has nothing to say. When he can't be reached for comment, Sean Parnell always can. But what's Pete doing in the face of all this? He's trolling. Pete's trolling in the face of all this. He loves this action. For instance, The Atlantic. They put out a post on X. The Atlantic's journalists will not sign the Pentagon's press policy. We fundamentally oppose the restrictions that the Trump administration is imposing on journalists who are reporting on matters of defense and national security. The requirements violate our First Amendment rights and the right of Americans who seek to know how taxpayer-funded military resources and personnel are being deployed. We will continue to cover matters of defense, war, and national security independently and fairly. What did Pete Hegseth respond to that with? a waving goodbye emoji. As a matter of fact, he hit everybody who said they weren't signing the policy online with a waving goodbye emoji. Bye-bye First Amendment. Bye-bye taxpayer rights to understand what's happening in your military and what our leaders are thinking. Bye-bye. See ya. He's all about it. He's all about it. There was a great report, an op-ed in NPR. Todd Bowman wrote it. If this topic really interests you, if you feel strongly about it, I suggest you go look it out. Look it up. He worked in the Pentagon reporting it for 28 years. He talks about how relationships he fostered in the Pentagon helped bring the truth to you. How, Rumsfeld would come out and say one thing, and then a general would come behind him and say, hey, that invasion of Baghdad didn't quite go as well as Rumsfeld led you to believe. Or he'd go talk to military members, some who he still has relationships with. And he says, these people would come and they'd bring me the truth, because guess what? The military wants the truth out there as well. They want you to know the truth about what's happening to and with them.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. You're back with Breck Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
I love you. I love you.
We love you, Letitia. We love Tish. We love Tish.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I've got your back.
She actually does, too. She actually does have our back. That is Letitia James appearing before a crowd at a Mamdani rally. Zoran Mamdani is running for mayor of New York, and this was a rally for him. And Letitia James showed up, and she was the centerpiece. She was the main attraction, not Zoran. He was upstaged. Letitia James is a hero. Trump is picking our heroes. He's picking them for us. Pam Bondi is picking our heroes for us. She didn't ask for this indictment. Trump is picking her. Now, she is a worthy foe for Trump. If you were a, strategist for the Trump campaign and you wanted to go to war with your opponents and your rivals, that's your target. She's the one that has levied dozens of lawsuits against your administration, trying to block your authoritarian, anti-constitutional policies at every single turn. She is mobilizing other attorneys generals to take part in these lawsuits. It is a nationwide movement spearheaded by Letitia James. Not to mention the successful lawsuit against Trump and his company for inflating the value of his company. Fraud. Found guilty. Found civilly liable. Guilty. Yes, the amount he had to pay was overturned, but there will be an amount. It won't be the $500 million that she got the first time around. We'll see what the appeals courts decide to do, but there will be an amount. She's the target. She's the target. She's the one fighting the fight. And some of us know it. And she is a hero. She is a hero. She talked about Zoran a little bit. She opened up talking about Zoran a little bit. It is his rally. She said he is a leader fighting for a better future for this city. And he, like me, knows what it's like to be attacked, to be called names, to be threatened, to be harassed. I see the courage that is embodied in Zoran, and that's why I'm supporting him. She said a few other things. You want to hear from Tish? I do. I want to hear from her every chance I get. She addressed what's happening to her personally. She addressed the indictment. She was careful about it. She didn't start naming names, but she addressed it.
I love you. I love you.
I'll fast forward a little bit. We did that already.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I've got your back. Yeah. I love you more. So good evening, everyone. It is so good to be here with all of you, standing with my very good friend, my little brother, and one of the boldest voices in the history of New York politics, Zoran Mamdani. We are here tonight because we are ready to turn the page on the cynical, broken politics of the past. We are ready to build a city that works for the people who actually make it run. Working people, the teachers, the nurses, the drivers, the home health aides, the firefighters, the police, not just for those at the top, but for working people who...
Okay, so that got cut off a little bit. She did open up talking about Mamdani and their shared goals. She sounds like a criminal there, huh? Talking about the working family. talking about ready to turn the page. She sounds like a criminal. She sounds like she should definitely be the focal point of our DOJ's ire. Certainly. She did address what's going on with her, though.
You see, I know what it feels like to be attacked for just doing your job. But I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity. And so I stand on solid rock. And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up. You come for me, you gotta come to all of us. All of us. Every single one of us. We're all in this together.
That's not just rhetoric. We are absolutely in this together. I know there's a lot of MAGA out there that think this assault on the retribution and the assault on our Constitution is cute. They love that it's their dear leader perpetrating it. If Obama or Biden had done any one of the things that Trump has done in just the first handful of months of his first term, it would be a revolution by now. There would already be blood on the streets. But this is what the fight looks like if you're not somebody who delights in authoritarianism. And we are in this together. We are in this together. You know, it's funny. I do want to say an aside, by the way. It's funny because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? She's out there campaigning for Mamdani, right? Mamdani's biggest opponent in the New York election is Andrew Cuomo. Mamdani beat Cuomo in the Democratic primary. So Cuomo drops the Democratic label, goes independent, and he's going to be the biggest competitor to Mamdani in the election. Well, don't forget, it was Letitia who launched the investigation into the sexual misconduct allegations against Cuomo, saying he had sexually harassed at least 11 women. That was why he quit. He denied all the allegations, of course, and now he's back. And here's James and Mamdani together attacking Cuomo. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is my friend. I found that interesting. And she's not in this fight by herself. She's not alone. She's not alone. There's a watchdog group called the Democracy Defenders Fund. They are seeking a full probe into the Comey and James cases. They want to know how this happened. They want to know how this played out. They are asking for true transparency into how these cases were brought about. You're asking, who are these people? I'll tell you who they are. You might recognize a couple of these names. Norm Eisen, the former ethics official for President Barack Obama. Richard Painter, a former associate counsel to President George W. Bush and a frequent guest on many left-leaning talk shows, including a guest on Randy's show more than once. And Virginia Cantor, a former White House associate counsel to President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. They wrote a letter. And they gave it to ethics officials. Okay? And they gave it to ethics. And they are asking for the Justice Department Inspector General William Blyer to do something. They're asking him particularly to do something. They said, quote, Miss Halligan pursued these indictments to fulfill President Donald J. Trump's longstanding personal vendetta against Mr. Comey and Miss James. We are facing a turning point in our democracy and some of the most egregious examples of vindictive and meritless prosecution that our nation has ever seen. A president should never order prosecutions of his enemies. That happens in Putin's Russia, and it has happened in other dictatorships, but not here until now. Prosecutors should never be fired for refusing to bring charges they conclude are unfounded, Eric Siebert, even if the president's orders them to do so. Yet, that appears to be just what President Trump has done in order to charge Mr. Comey and Miss James. They went on to say some more things. They want a full probe, and they are asking the IG Blyer to do something about this. They demand transparency. They demand it. That's the fight. That's the fight. Oh, and by the way, while we're talking about the DOJ, it's funny, we reported Friday that Letitia James's case was presented to the grand jury by Lindsay Halligan herself, which is unusual. Why? Because many people in the Eastern District of Virginia wouldn't take the case. They wouldn't take part, including one senior prosecutor. That was all that was named, one senior prosecutor. I think I said at the time, let's see what becomes of this person. It was a quick blurb. Well, guess what? I think I know who that senior prosecutor was, who decided I can't take part in this case, and I won't allow any of my aides to take part either. It was Maggie Mary Cleary, the very short-term, interim U.S. attorney at the Eastern District of Virginia before they put Halligan in, the basis of trying to get the case thrown out by Mr. Fitzpatrick, Comey's lawyer. Miss Maggie Cleary herself has been fired. She has been fired. How about that? I promise you, it was Miss Maggie Mary Cleary who would not take this case. She didn't bring it when she was there, when she was the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, and she didn't take any part of it once Halligan came in. Didn't want any part of it, wasn't at the indictment. She was at the grand jury indictment of Comey. She didn't really take too much part in that, but she was there, part of the office, at the indictment. So were two others at the Comey indictment. One, Michael Ben-Ari and Troy Edwards Jr., along with Maya Song. Guess what? All three of them are gone now. One resigned. Two were fired. They were also there for the Comey indictments. And according to reports, they wanted no part of that. They wouldn't do any work towards it. They wouldn't present in front of the grand jury. They wanted nothing to do with it. The indictment went forward and they got fired. Now, fast forward the Letitia James indictment. Guess who wouldn't take part in it? Wouldn't show up to the grand jury. Wouldn't let her aides take part in it. Miss Maggie Mary Cleary. And now she is fired. Just like that. Fired. Eric Siebert is the fight. Maggie Mary Cleary, that's the fight. Those are the soldiers. They are unlikely soldiers. They are unlikely allies, both of them. They are Trump supporters, lifetime Republicans, worked hard to rise in the ranks of the Republican Party and gain credence to their career, legitimacy, doing Republican work at the highest levels of our DOJ, U.S. attorney's offices. They spent their whole lives to get in this position, and once there, they were asked to do something that they knew was wrong. So they didn't, and they lost their jobs. They lost their careers. Everything they worked so hard to build is gone because they would not sully themselves. They had too much dignity, didn't want to get disbarred, wanted no part of a weaponized, vindictive indictment. They are the soldiers. That's the fight.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.